Hey Booktube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. I've said before that I'm pretty behind on my tags. I've got them all saved in my watch list, watch for later. But this one is pretty timely and I wanted to do this one now and so I can get it posted. This is the Black History Month book tag. I was tagged by Shawn the Book Maniac, and the originator is Helene from Books by Leynes. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I will link their channels below, of course, as I always do. So I wanted to give this tag some respect and some love, and I jumped on this one to get this out here quickly. Let's see, the first prompt is, what is a book everybody should be reading during Black History Month? One fiction and one nonfiction. Right off the bat, I'm breaking all the rules. It's so hard to narrow it down to one book. Any question I get asked about books, it's too hard to narrow it down to just one. So I'm gonna try to quickly offer more than one suggestion. The first one is a nonfiction, and it is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. She developed cancer, and cervical cancer, I think. But this was way back when not only women were disregarded by the medical establishment, but especially a Black woman. She developed cancer, and she went to the hospital, was brought in for medical treatment. They put her through many different types of tests and took tissue samples from her, which resulted in cell samples that they basically used because they noticed the growth and they noticed the behavior of these cancer cells. And they multiplied, they stored them, they took them, they multiplied them, and they made these cells they were called HeLa cells, H-E-L-A, which stands for Henrietta Lacks. She was never told, and her family was never told for decades. A little bit of this, I think a lot of you already know about this book, but just really quickly, she was a poor Southern tobacco farmer. The first immortal human cells grown in culture. They are still alive today, though she has been dead for more than 60 years. If you could pile all HeLa cells ever grown onto a scale, they would weigh more than 50 million metric tons, as much as 100 Empire State Buildings. HeLa cells were vital for developing the polio vaccine, uncovered secrets of cancer, viruses, and the atom bomb's effects, helped lead to important advances like in vitro fertilization, cloning, and gene mapping, and have been bought and sold by the billions. Yet Henrietta Lacks remains virtually unknown, buried in an unmarked grave. It wasn't until the author went to find Henrietta Lacks' family to talk to them about these developments and what happened to her that there was some financial remuneration, and it goes on from there. But to get a glimpse into the medical history and how Black people, especially this Black woman, was treated by the establishment is freaking enraging. I read this just in a state of rage through the whole thing, but it's exceptionally well written, exceptional history and research. So go and read that one. My fiction is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I have to admit, I didn't love this book, but I really, it's very powerful. And it's the story of a school in Florida, segregated Tallahassee, Elwood Curtis. He is a young Black teenager who is getting himself ready to go to college. He's very intelligent, wants to be educated, wants to advance in life, and through no fault of his own gets picked up as a delinquent and gets sent to the Nickel Academy, which is a fictionalized account of basically a reform school in Florida for boys. It becomes basically a chamber of horrors. Sadistic abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, just humiliation, racism, the staff against Black boys and the other white residents against the Black residents. It's harrowing. And it just talks about the difference in how the Blacks and whites were treated, the different prejudices and racial tensions But the most harrowing part is this novel is based on a true story. So it's a very powerful book. So, I tried to do this quickly, but that's only the first prompt. The second prompt, which Black booktuber would you recommend watching and why? There is no way I could just limit this to one. I think I have four. I'm going to do this quick. Kay the Reader. She is a African-American woman who reviews Black authors. She reads Black romance. She's a Christian woman who also does Bible reading on her channel. She is very soft-spoken and patient in her delivery. She's very smart, very warm and welcoming, but she's also got a great perspective and presents books that I've always liked, and I've discovered many new authors from her. Right at this point, she has a little over 900 subscribers. The other one is Jana from Coffee and Copyrights. She's a newer one to me. I really like her. She reads classical literature, literary fiction, historical fiction. She puts a little romance in there based on her bio on YouTube. But she's very personable and engaging and smart. And again, she reads things that are in common to things that I like, and I've really enjoyed watching her channel. Another one is Hey, It's Shay. She's got a little over 1,000 subscribers. She's so smart and interesting, very quick-witted, snarky, very honest. Again, similar books to books that I would enjoy, and I've, again, discovered a lot of new titles because of her. I love listening to her. She's like right to the point, and I love it. The last one is Ariel from She Wants the Diction. Now, Ariel is extremely fiery and honest and brutal sometimes. She does have a little bit of a potty mouth. If anybody is sensitive to that, I'm not. But I really like listening to her and watching her videos. But she can be a little controversial. Why? Because she tells it like it is, and she doesn't shy away from telling white people, you're not really my audience. And white people, we should be okay with that, because she's a voice that I want to hear. I want to hear what she says. I want to watch her presentation. I want to hear her perspective. And, I don't want to watch a Black booktuber who's going to pander to white viewers. Be honest and out there, and I want to listen to your voice. I want to hear you. So, prompt number 3. What is your favorite book written by a Black author from an African country? This one was a little muddy for me because I wasn't sure if I was looking for a Black author that is still residing in an African country or originated from an African country. So I kind of did what I could. Abby Dare wrote The Girl with the Louding Voice, which I read last year. And again, it's a very good novel. It wasn't great, but it's her debut novel. And it's the type of book where I'm definitely going to buy whatever she comes out with next, because she has so much potential and talent. And she is a Nigerian-British author. Another one who is a Nigerian-American author is Nnedi Okorafor. She wrote the Binti series, the science fiction series, which I really loved. And she wrote Akata Witch and Akata Warrior. I love reading women in science fiction and fantasy, and her voice is so good and unique and powerful, and I really enjoyed that series. And the last one is a book I want to read. I haven't read this one yet. This is on my physical bookshelf, TBR. It's The Old Drift by Nemwali Serpell. And Nemwali Serpell is a Zambian writer. She teaches at the University of California in Berkeley. And this was her first novel. This was published in 2019. So it's not that old. But it's on my shelf, and I haven't read it yet, and I really would like to. 3 families, 4 generations, fates collide as a nation is born and drifts toward ruin, or is it revolution? Number 4, what is your favorite Black classic? This one was almost a no-brainer for me, and it's The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Alexandre Dumas was a French author with Haitian and Caribbean parents. Embarrassingly enough, when I bought this novel years ago and it was on my shelf, when I first bought it, I had no idea he was a Black author. And, you know, embarrassment to me that I didn't even dig that deeply into the author's background, but he was, and this is an exceptional book. One of my favorite books of all time, and it's definitely a classic. Very quickly, another one, modern classic, is Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, published in the 40s. It's still applicable today, which is embarrassing and enraging, but a lot of the things in this novel about an unnamed invisible Black man still applies today, which is unreal to me. Another modern classic is Jazz by Toni Morrison. This was not one of my favorite Toni Morrisons, but it's a novel, but it does touch on the migration of Black folks from the South to the North. And not a subject that I had read a lot about, and I really enjoyed learning about that in this novel. So I think that's all I got for that. Oh, one more, sorry. Another Toni Morrison beloved. I've read this several times. One of my favorite novels, one of the greatest novels ever written, about freed Black slaves and their experiences. It has some magical realism and history, historical fiction. Exceptional. It's an exceptional novel. Oh, let's see. Prompt number 5. Which movie, book-to-movie adaptation, or documentary would you recommend watching during Black History Month? The one that came immediately to mind was 13th, which is a documentary by Ava DuVernay from 2016. And I watched this and was brought to wordlessness. I was speechless. It's a history of race and criminal justice, talking about how the criminal justice system is basically just an extension of slavery. Talks about politics and what different political regimes in the United States did to continue mass incarceration of Black people, specifically Black men and people who were prosecuted and incarcerated for drug crimes. The Reagan era, which came up with the just say no cliche, and where that came from, why that they developed that, when was there really a drug war happening? Was that really going on, or was it just a way to continue to put away Black men? Extremely powerful, talks a lot about how slavery had led into incarceration, a little bit of the history of racism, prejudice, all of it. It's just an exceptionally well done documentary film. Prompt 6, what's on your TBR for Black History Month? Oh my gosh. Right now I'm reading a couple of books. I forgot to bring them with me. I am reading Negroland by Margot Jefferson, which is a memoir. I am reading Zadie Smith's short collection of essays, Intimations. However, I've also got several books in a pile that I'm not going to be able to fit all of these in for February, but Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, Iola Leroy, which is a novel. This one I really am I think I'm going to successfully read. Linden Hills by Gloria Naylor. I read The Women of Brewster Place with the Barter Horde's Backlist Book Club, and this is a continuation of one of the characters in that book, who is living in a more well-off neighborhood, and it's going to connect with Negroland, Jefferson's book. James McBride, The Color of Water, a Black man's tribute to his white mother. I would love to fit this in this month. I won't probably get to this one, but I will get to it this year. Barack Obama's Dreams of My Father. The novel by Deshaun Charles Winslow, In West Mills. Been dying to get to this one. And Corregidora by Gail Jones. I hauled this one not very long ago, so I would love to make room in my February schedule to fit a couple of those in. Let's see, and the last prompt, which new releases by Black writers are you looking forward to the most this year? One specifically is Barack Obama's A Promised Land. I am going to probably read this starting in April, May, June, because that's going to be our last section of these truths, and it goes up until the current day, I think, of 2016, but I'm going to fit this in for my nonfiction reading in that section of these truths. Let's see, there's one more. It's How Beautiful We Were, and Imbolo Mbue. I just picked up Behold the Dreamers, and this is a book coming out March 9th of this year. It's a novel, How Beautiful We Were, and I'm going to put the author's name and the title because I butchered it. It's a fictional African village of Kasawa. They're living in fear of environmental degradation caused by an American oil company. They're living in a dictatorship with a dictator who wants nothing but to get richer. So the people start to revolt, and it's a decades-long struggle with the people who are deciding to fight back, and whether there are consequences or the ramifications of that. It's told from the perspective of a generation of children and the family of a girl named Thula who becomes a revolutionary. Yes. Woo! So there's so much to capture, and there's so much strength in history, in Black authors and Black history, history of creativity, history of slavery, history of politics, commerce, all of it. I don't want to be a white reader that limits myself to white authors or to European authors or whatever it is. I want to read everything. Different genres, different colors of author, different genders, different sexualities, all of it. And I don't want any Black author, Black booktuber, or Black friend to feel they need to pander or squelch themselves in the process of helping me learn, because that's my responsibility. So that's it for me. This tag might be a little bit longer than normal. I was really happy that Shawn tagged me. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are and what you think of any of the books I presented. I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good day. Bye, everybody.